Hello, hello, hello. Surprise! It's a Monday and we are going live. Yes, I am Michelle Dickey, your host for the Let's Just Chat show, streaming on the YouTube channel Narcissism and Cognitive Dissonance and Facebook at Michelle Dickey and Consulting for Hate Awareness. And this comes about as somewhat of a request. So I want to go ahead and thank, our fellow survivor for bringing this up, because it is very, very common. Okay, everybody, very, very common for all survivors. So, yes, El Suga, thank you for this somewhat of a request. I told you I was going to come on live, and we're going to talk about the rumination phase a bit more, because it's very common, all right? Because and it's deliberate. Okay, it's a deliberate thing that the narcissistic abusers do, because they want their target to continue. They want to live rent free in their target's head, right? Well, that's how they do it. By, all of the head games and everything that they play. Of course, you're going to go through a rumination phase. We all go through it. Now, how long it lasts, that has a lot of factors to involve. Now, how long? Because doing our volume check as usual, because every narcissistic abuse situation is going to have its unique stuff to it. And you also got to remember, it's going to depend a lot on how many narcissistic abusers, we ended up getting trauma bonded to, right? Oh, and I need to bring this in. Because it goes right into how the narcissistic abusers underestimate everybody else while overestimating themselves. For those of you who don't know this, I am a forensic analyst. I will figure things out. My background is in forensic science for a reason. Okay, criminal justice, forensic toxicology, currently forensic psychology. I do have earthly credential as well, although I'm qualified by God to preach and teach. Yes. But my earthly credential, I will figure things out. See, that's the thing. Y'all, so for those of you who don't know, there's now on the website, we have forensic consultations available for anybody out there who needs that kind of help to connect dots, okay, to help the victims and all parties involved get closure so that they can move forward. Because see, this goes right into the rumination phase as well, because it causes the victim to stay in rumination phase, especially if they don't even know what happened. That, let's say they ended up in the hospital and they have no idea, okay, and they don't even know what happened. They don't know how they got there, they don't know why they're there. And so we see that a lot. And so I can help you. Okay, I can help you connect the dots, because I detect holes in stories, outlandish stories. And also when something feels a bit too familiar because it's happened before. All right, I will help you. All right, we will get that closure you need so that you can go forward and not ignore those red flags ever again. See, we have to learn of the red flags first. God knows them. And so that's why. Okay, that is exactly why he has us go through what we go through sometimes. Okay, so that he could show us, hey, guess what? That person's not who you thought they were. Right? So that's a big one. Right? And it can cause a person to ruminate over whatever that was, over that abuser, for a good time, if they don't know what really happened or why it happened. Why did it happen for so long? Well, I'm here to remind you, just like several others out here who are, doing similar work. I'm here to remind you that you are a chosen child of God. It is that anointing that's on you, okay? Because you have a higher calling on your life. But we also want to remember something too, that the enemy's goal, okay, the devil's goal, as soon as people are born into this fallen world, that narcissistic matrix bubble, okay, as soon as we are born into that, right, that's when it begins. That's when the trauma bond to the world begins, right? Trauma bond to the world, meaning earthly thing, believing that, being dependent on all things external. That's being trauma bonded to the world, dependent on all things external, right? That's that trauma bond to the world, right? We learn this later on in life. Once we get over that rainbow to the other side, right, where we get that balance between the physical and the spiritual, so that we are maintaining emotional regulation. And that's where God needs us to get. so that he can continue to show us these things and to reveal all as he promised. Remember, God is a promise keeper. He's not going to drop you. Like I said yesterday, y'all, he ain't going to drop you on it. He brought you this far. He awakened you for a reason. He awakened you to and from all of that narcissistic abuse so that you can overcome the trauma, so that you can heal. The ones who are serious about wanting to heal and grow, right? Remember what we're all about at Consulting for Heightened Awareness. That's right. It's trauma healing and spiritual growth, getting closer to God, to understand that, you know what, this is what it is. We're not downplaying it or anything like that, okay? But I'm also going to remind everybody out here too that you can't re-traumatize a trauma specialist. It's not going to work. Not only that, especially when the trauma specialist happens to be a chosen child of God, right? Raised the spiritual body, reborn again in Christ. Right? You're not going to re-traumatize a trauma specialist that is a true blue chosen child of God. Okay, it's not going to happen, especially once they're fully healed. Okay, so the enemy is stupid, you all. I tell you this all the time for a reason, because he is. He's stupid. And, the enemy doesn't think that, listen, y'all, just like the narcissistic abusers, okay, they don't think that they don't think anybody else is smart. They don't think anybody else can figure it out. They think that we will always remain oblivious to their tricks. Well, once we realize that there's nothing new under the sun with those tricks, the tricks of the enemy, he's only got one bag. Okay, he's got one bag. And all the same tricks are inside that one bag. So once we learn all those tricks that are inside that one bag, he ain't got nothing else. Right? He got nothing but head games. And so those head games play a role in leading the survivor to that rumination phase. All right. And now to get through that, it takes dot connecting. Okay. That's why we all go through the rumination phase, because we're trying to connect dots, filling gaps, missing pieces to the puzzle to figure out why the narc did, for example. Why is it when you were just being you were just being the nice, kind you that you always are, and you give the, you're just kind of taking a look around, you see some pretty flowers or what have you, and there's a narc over here, and they are staring you down, right? Okay, and so as human beings, we're gonna feel that. So we turn and we look and we smile at them, and then they turn around, slump their shoulders, and pull all kinds of little, all of that's for head game. And that's also to trick the target into wondering why they did what they did. There goes the rumination, okay? So once you get the answers to the why and connect those dots, then you can go, oh, okay. Very similar to when you can get forensic answers to what really happened, okay? Then you can go, oh, because see, everything about the spiritual battle for the mind with this narcissistic abuse is designed to try and get the target, okay, to stay in the past. That rumination can trick people into living in the past. And, Jesus tells us, Luke 9:62, that we can't do that. Okay, when we put our hand to the plow, we've got to keep going forward. Okay, can't live in the past. So the enemy wants to keep people in that ruminating phase so that they continue to live in the past and not go forward. Same concept with victims of the narcissistic abuse, which is domestic violence, by the way, you all. Narcissistic abuse is domestic violence, for those of you in the back. Okay, so when they don't know what happened to them, that landed them somewhere, and they have no idea, no recollection, no memory or anything like that, because let's say they had a couple of drinks. Oh, well, I can tell you right now, your drink got spiked. Okay, that is not uncommon. Right? Many of us, I would tell you right now, when I got my toxicology mastered and I had to take forensic medicine 1 and 2, I had to learn all about bruise patterns, abrasion patterns, and all of that. And so it plays a big role in a forensic analysis of what really went down. And I remember it was a lady at a women's crisis center that told me years ago about a particular date rape drug that is very common and unfortunately very easy to get. And so a lot of narcissistic abusers, that's what they do. They will get those, okay? And so they need to do that because they want to, yes, that's right. They want to, like I said yesterday, They want to knock out their target. So their target is unconscious or unaware, basically blacks out, and then has no idea what happened, but wakes up with, things, bruises and marks and gashes or whatever, and have no idea, right? That's what the narcissistic abuser wants, is so that the victim doesn't know what really happened, because they spiked the drink. So that way the victim will ruminate, okay? And then also so that the victim will continue the cycle of abuse, because they don't know what happened, so they won't understand the red flags of what to look for. Okay, see, that's the thing. We still all have news, that we still have things to learn going forward, myself included. Y'all are not alone, all right? So it was God bringing things back to my remembrance, because he needed me to remember that I was sitting on a talent and gift as a forensic consultant. So there you go. He needed me to remember that. And so be it. All right, that's it. Bottom line. Okay, but that rumination phase, okay, because that's deliberate by the enemy. Okay, by the narcissistic abusers, because they want to live, like I said at the very beginning, they want to live rent-free in your head. Now, that's not the same thing as you doing the actual dot connecting. See, that's the key here. To get out of that rumination phase, here's your action tip. All right, here's the coach and me coming out. All right, your action steps for that. Okay, particular, whatever. Okay, what is it that you're still ruminating about? Write that down. Okay, jot that down. What is the, one thing that just keeps replaying? Because a lot of times you'll have a scene that will replay in your mind over and over and over again, because you're trying to grasp, what was that? What was that all about? What was the meaning behind that? Why did they do that? Things like that. So you want to write down that particular, write down the details. Only you know that. Okay, write down those details. Write it out. Get it out of the mind and on paper. We are real big about that. Okay, because it works. And so you get it out of the mind and on paper. And so, because this activity works for a lot of things in the trauma healing process. Absolutely, 100%. So however it is that you take notes, okay, really, it will work. But for many of us, we find that putting it in a notepad, journaling it in a notepad, getting it out of the mind and on paper, and go, okay, now, kind of like doing a forensic analysis, we're going to sit there and we're going to analyze that for a second. And then we're going to do some research, okay? Because there's going to be things inside, whatever that is, okay? There's going to be additional questions. So next to that, write your question down as they come to. Okay, you don't want to forget it, because they're going to linger. That's part of that rumination, right? Those questions are going to be coming around over and over and over again. So write the questions down, and then we get online. And I'm not saying that we're, like necessarily having to Google their behaviors, but in a sense you are, okay? Because you want to find out the psychology and maybe even the sociology. So you write those two things down, the sociology, because sociology is about human behaviors, the study of human behavior as well. So sociology is all about, seeing the types of, I don't want to say reactions, but the types of responses, that's better, that a person would get to a particular thing. For example, to help you put it in perspective, when we took the sociology course, what we did, my instructor and I had fun with this one, said that, we decided to see how people responded to me wearing a pair of pajamas to it wasn't like an upscale type restaurant or anything like that, but it was a decent type restaurant, kind of like, I guess, in the middle. It wasn't a dive, and it wasn't a white tablecloth type one. It was just kind of like in the middle, and so we did that, and it was really intriguing, because people were like, like they didn't know what I did. Let the manager know what was up. We were doing a sociology experiment. Okay, so that's part of it, to help y'all put that in perspective as to when you're doing this exercise to get out of the rumination phase, because the same concepts apply. Right? It works. Okay, so you write those down, and then you want to start going. Okay, you do that research. Okay, sociology, and then you look at the psychology behind it. Okay, and in particular, some of you may need to look into the criminal psychology. I have a textbook. It's in the storage unit right now, but I'm keeping all of my forensic-based textbooks for reason, obviously, because that stuff happens every single day. It's not going away. Not in this spiritual battle for the mind. Absolutely not. So, you could even look more specifically at that, depending on what it is you're ruminating about. Because there's, you've got criminal psychology and then you have regular psychology. Okay, so there's going to be, maybe a little bit of both. Okay, depends on what the circumstances were. Remember, there's no one size fits all solution, right? Okay, your narcissistic abuse situation that put you in that rumination phase, it's going to have little detail that are going to be unique, and others aren't necessarily going to have the same thing. So that's why we tell y'all, write that on paper, and then remember to write your question down. Then you do the research. Okay, that's your 3 steps right there to get started, to get that, whatever that is, that one scenario that's in your head that keeps replaying over and over again because you have not been able to connect the dots just yet. Okay, and just get it on paper. All right, and then do the research. Because what's going to happen is when you do the research, you're going to find your dots. You're going to get them connected because you're going to find the missing pieces to the puzzle. Right? It's all about you're analyzing. Okay, you're ruminating over that particular situation with that narcissistic abuser. The hows and the whys, and the how, but the whys and all of that. And it's just continuing. And you're wondering, okay, what is it about you? Well, I'm going to remind y'all, there is nothing wrong with you. Do not let the enemy trick you into thinking that. Okay, no, there's nothing wrong with you. These narcissistic abusers get attracted to God's chosen children with the anointing because of everything that's right with them. Think about that for a second, right? Because there's everything that's right about you. In other words, you have a clean heart. In other words, you don't have the mindset to go out there and try and steal, kill, and destroy. You don't have that kind of heart or mind. That's not how you think. That's not how you want to be nice to everybody, right? Okay, so we are overcome evil with good. Right, there you go. I know, y'all. I know. It's tough in the beginning to learn how to do that, as far as if you still have to interact with the narcissistic abuser, then it is a little difficult to still be nice or kind in the face of evil. But I'm here to tell y'all something. Being kind in the face of evil is a strength. Oh my gosh, it takes a lot of courage to do that. Of course. And not let our emotions overtake us. See, that's the big part right there. Right? The narcissistic abusers, they're very much controlled by their emotions. They cannot process them. That's why they project them out, all that negativity, right? Okay, they think that's somehow going to cure them. No, it's not. And so for you, it's everything that's right with you because you don't have that kind of mindset. You don't have that Israel mindset. You never did. Right? God-chosen children never. No, we know the world does not revolve around us. We know that we're not entitled to. Okay, we know that we're not, just because we hold particular statuses or titles or what have you, like chosen children of God, we wear many hats, but we don't let any of that go to our head. It's just we know that all of those talents and gifts that God put on the inside of us, and that we acquired additional skill sets along the way that only enhanced what God put in there. Right, or to use them to help others. We don't let that. The fact that I'm a forensic consultant as well. No, that doesn't go to our head. Do you know why God's chosen one have the ability to not let that stuff go to their head? It's because we know there's other people out there who can do it too. Right? We know I'm not the only forensic consultant. I'm not the only consultant. I'm not the only coach. I'm not the only author. I'm not the only. You know what I'm saying? Trauma specialist. I'm not the only one. And so there's no reason for it to go. No. Right? That's why we don't let it go to our head. Okay? No, there's no reason for that. Because there's plenty of others out there who do similar things, similar work. Okay? So there you go. And we understand that. And that's all right. Because we also know that each one of us is going to deliver our messages and things in a unique way that's going to resonate with, let's just say, like-minded. Okay? For example, to help y'all put that in perspective, this ministry resonates with those who are in the spiritual, okay? Who are on the righteous spiritual side of things, okay? Yes, there's a difference. We know narcissistic abusers, they're on the dark side. Right? They like their darkness. Chosen spiritual warriors for Christ, We're on the right side, the light side, the bright side, the anointing side, okay? Standing upright in the Lord. And see, if the longer you stay in that rumination phase, the harder it's going to be to keep standing upright in the Lord. See, the enemy knows that too. Okay, so let's do a quick recap for you all, and especially for those who have just come on in, all right, your action steps to help you get out of that rumination phase for whatever it is, that's kind of consuming a lot of your mind space right now. We write it down, and then the questions that go along with it, write those down. Then we start doing the research between sociology, psychology, and criminal psychology. Okay, those three things right there. Right, because it's going to help you be able to conduct your own analysis for your unique circumstance to help you connect those dots. Once you're able to connect those dots, then you go, oh, and that is how God gives us closure. The narcissistic abusers will never give us closure. That's how God does it, from within us. Okay, he works through us and has us do these things so that God is the one that's going to give us the closure we need by revealing what really happened and why this happened and how this happened and things like that. So with its simplicity, the why behind is, I've done the video on the YouTube channel, and it's titled "Groomed Since Birth to Tolerate the Narcissistic Abuse." Right? You'll see "Groomed Since Birth" in the title, and it's true. Okay, because the moment we're born into the fallen Babylonian narcissistic matrix, we are, from the moment that we, as a newborn, the moment we let out that first cry, that's when the grooming begins to tolerate narcissistic abuse throughout our lives and even later in life, until God awakens us to and from all of that. Because when he does that, woo, that is when, the game stops, right? Because we have to learn how to stop playing. In other words, we don't tolerate it anymore. All right, so let me help y'all put this in perspective. By not tolerating it, what we mean by that? How do you stop tolerating it? Okay, well, you stop tolerating it first and foremost by not internalizing the negative crap out there. All right, whenever the narcissistic abusers are projecting that stuff out, all that negativity and stuff, we learn we don't internalize it. It does not belong to us. That's not from God. It's not from within. So once that sinks in, that it's not coming from within, it's easier to just go, oh, okay, that negative thing, that gaslight, that guilt trip, or whatever that came from that narcissistic abuser, we send it back first class. Okay, rebuke in the name of Jesus, and it has to flee. Remember, resist the devil and he shall flee. So it has to go. It has to obey. I know the enemy's mad because even he has to obey. Hey, God, still. he tried not to, but once we catch on, okay, the ball is in the court of the chosen one, the true chosen one, all right? Because the righteous are bold as a lion. And to get there, we have to get out of the rumination phase. Now, I understand for many of us, okay, many survivors, okay, there's going to be multiple narcissistic abusers that we're going to ruminate over for a little bit. Okay, it's just the way it is. So you want to do those action steps for each one that you have, or if you're still trying to break the trauma bond. So that way you just, for each and every one, but I will suggest that one at a time, okay, because you don't want to get tripped up and to ruminating about the same one once you finally connected the dots and you're able to go, okay, now we're seeing the reward of the wicked. Okay, all right, there you go. And so we're able to move forward. Okay, now let's move on to the next one that's consuming that mind space, right? Trying to live rent free in your head. So same thing, you write it down. Write down the question for that particular one, for that flavor, if you will, because we now know that not just are there different flavors of narcs, but there are different flavors of Jezebels too. We also know that now. And, and then write that down and do that research with, sociology, criminal psychology, and then regular psychology, okay? That's going to help you through each and every one. And believe it or not, the more you do that, the easier it gets. It's kind of like practice. right, the easier it gets going forward for each one. And so for many survivors, it's going to be a good handful or more that you're going to do that with. And it's a normal part of the trauma healing process. So we don't want y'all to get tripped up, so that way you can, okay, and don't try to rush it. It's okay. It's okay. We've got several who have been in the rumination phase for about 5 years because it was like, 8 or 9, 10 narcissistic abusers that they got trauma bonded to. So that's why I give y'all some perspective. So it's okay. It's okay because it takes a while to find a person that you resonate with or that resonates with you and how they deliver the messages to help you. That's why those of us in this industry out here, we're doing it how God put it in us to do it, because God knew that our delivery method is going to resonate with certain survivors. Then we have fellow warriors who are also, they've got a ministry and they deliver their messages. We say the same thing, we just say them differently. And so another fellow warrior who is also pushing back against narcissism and the abuse associated with it, okay, that they deliver their messages slightly different than we do. And that resonates with other survivors. Okay, so that's how it goes. And God knew that it's going to resonate with who is meant to receive the messages. There you go. Because not all of them are meant to. And I'm going to tell y'all something. Yes, there are some narcissistic abusers, especially the Jezebel, who will practice. Never forget, they study their targets. Okay, narcissistic abusers study their targets for a good amount of time, right, before making their presence known. And they try to figure out what it is that's going to possibly get them in the door. Now, here's the thing. I need to remind y'all of something, right? This is your inspiration stuff going forward. For those of you who are still in the process of breaking trauma bonds, you got to keep going. You got to keep going, because I'm here to tell y'all something. That once you break those trauma bonds and you break that trauma bond to the world, whoo, yeah, it's going to be impossible to get trauma bonded to another narcissistic abuser. Yeah, I'm serious. Okay, because like there's a fun fact video that we will be shortly after we finish this live, because I've got it uploaded. Okay, and so it's like I said in yesterday's live, because when we break that trauma bond, that's right, break that trauma bond to the world, especially. Okay, we break it from the narcissistic abuser first, then we break it to the world. Okay, because once we break that trauma bond to the world, you're not going to get re-traumatized. You can't. No, because you see the red flags. You see them. You see through these narcs. You see what's going on. You can see that they have this, oh my gosh, insatiable need to be in control of everything outside of their control. All right, so I want to go ahead and deliver this message as well, because it's so important to let go and let God. We have to learn to give God full control. Let God do what God's got to do, right? Because if we are sitting there trying to control things outside of our control, the less control over ourselves we're going to have, okay? So we can get control. The way we get control over our emotion is by turning it over to God. You know what? Here you go, God. What do you need me to do? Yeah, there you go. And not only that, that's walking and living by faith. Because that need to be in control, to try to exert any kind of control, to feed their ego, these narcissistic abusers, to feed their ego and their superiority complex that they have. Okay, yeah, that need that they got, yeah, that's their downfall big time, aside from not keeping God in their knowledge. Oh, they'll pretend that they're keeping God in their knowledge. Absolutely, they'll pretend. Remember, these narcissistic abusers are, after all, what? Yes, they're actors, right? They're not genuine, okay? They can't be. And, believe me, lessons get learned every single day, you all, even when you do get over that rainbow and make it to the other side, okay? That's why I said it's ongoing, and the spiritual awakening is ongoing. But I would tell you something, that, I'm thankful that God revealed to me recently that there's different flavors of Jezebel now, because we're breaking that down, right? Oh yeah, y'all stay tuned, because we're gonna be bringing it. You know that's right, right? Because that's to help you all going forward too, so that you don't end up, that's right, in any more of those situations as well. But that, yeah, because you don't want to go through another rumination phase, right? There you go. You don't need to. It's just not, no. And then what will happen? See, once you are not getting trauma bonded anymore to anyone or anything, right? And once that you mastered that you don't allow yourself to get trauma bonded to anyone or anything, okay? Once that happens, then what you'll find yourself doing, if there was still another lesson that had to be learned, okay? Because we don't know until we know. So don't ever beat yourself up. If you find out that they're okay, well, I guess there's another one who's not who you thought they were. Okay, it's good. It's just one of those things. And so we're able to do a quick analysis. Okay, dot connecting even quicker. You know why? Because you already got the experience doing it from the previous. Yeah, you see, it's all of this, that rumination phase, and then those action steps. All of that is you learning. Yeah, that's God teaching you. Okay, God is teaching you how to go forward and how to make those connections. And God is giving you the information. We have to be paying attention to receive it. You see? And so, yeah, I want to go ahead and help y'all put this in better perspective as well. That, why it may seem as though it's, the narcissistic abuse is not happening to you today. Okay. Well, you know what? Okay. It is. It doesn't go away. I know that's a harsh truth. It's not happening directly to us anymore. No. Okay. Right. And I'm going to explain. Hang tight. I'm going to explain. Okay. It's not going to happen directly to us anymore because of the fact that we are aware. Okay. When you get that heightened awareness, okay, that's right, that heightened awareness that God needs us to have, that narcissistic abuse that gets dished out, even when it is physical, it's not going to have a direct, okay, it's not going to have any direct impact. It has an indirect impact. Huge difference. Whereas before we were awakened, we were having direct impacts, right? We were like, oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong? Oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? That was a direct. Now, when God awakens us to and from it, you get out of that rumination phase, you've connected the dots, you're getting to the other side of that rainbow, you're getting that emotional regulation and maintaining it, right? And you're not wearing your heart on your sleeve anymore. You're not just blasting your empathy everywhere, all over the place anymore. Okay, you're not wearing your heart on your sleeve and things like that. You're able to be selective with that empathy, and you're able to go, okay, and then test the spirit by the spirit, all of that stuff, okay, that we learn when we get in God's reality. And so you're doing that. And so whenever another narcissistic abuser does try something or tries to dish out, another gaslight, or they get physical, or they do the crazy stuff that they always do, and it's not going to have a direct impact anymore because you're aware of it. But it's just an indirect. So that means being indirect, it's not going to have the expected outcome that the enemy was hoping for. You see, there's your difference. Because while it was having a direct impact before we were awakened, it was giving the enemy the expected result, like tricking us into engaging in reactive abuse, tricking us into doing things that we knew went against our intuition, but we were guilt tripped into doing it, right? Okay. So that's that. That's all through the direct impact. Now, right, when we are awakened and we're in God's reality and it's an indirect impact, it's not going to have the intended it's not going to have the intended effect on us anymore because we're aware of it now. And so we don't fall for it. We're like, oh, because we can see when they dish out a guilt trip and we can sense it in the spirit and we shut it off right there. We're like, no, right? Yeah. And then the gaslight or what have you, it does not affect us directly anymore because we know where it's coming from. It's coming from, it's a reflection of the narcissistic abuser, right? Okay, so we know it doesn't belong to us now. And it stays where it belongs. It boomerangs back around, you see? And I'm going to go ahead and share with you all that when these narcissistic abusers, when they calculate stuff out, you know what I'm saying? Like they fixate on a target and they go, okay, they're going to, like we talked about yesterday about their fantasy. When they do that and they calculate stuff out, remember how narcissistic abusers, they don't think for the long term, right? Remember, they're not long-term thinkers. They're in it for the here and now. So anytime they are conjuring up something that they're going to do to their target, and they do that, okay, and it's for short term, because they're expecting immediate results. As always, that instant gratification that the toddlers in adult body are looking for. They don't realize that for the long term, it's not going to happen. That it's not even going to happen like they expect it to. Okay, because they don't plan for the long term. They only plan for short term. It's like reminds me of when you're training a horse, and the horse has the blinders on. Okay, well, narcissistic abusers, those blinders never come off with the narcissistic abusers. They don't think outside the box. They don't think for the long term when they plan these things that they're going to do to their target, and try so that they can try to make their target their rag doll and play hero. All right. Yes. Remember, narcissistic abusers will always play hero or victim, but they will never play the villain. That's right. Let that sink in. Okay. They will never play the villain. They'll never admit. Nope. They will never admit to it. This is why we learn we don't even need to say anything to them. We don't even need to confront them. And see, that is part of the rumination phase right there too. That, I know the constant urge, to want to confront the narcissistic abuser about what they did or what they were doing, or to ask them why they did this or why they did that. And one thing we learn is that when we start asking the narcissistic abuser those types of questions, that all they're going to do is deny, blame, shift, deflect, project, and it's just So it's a waste of time. We're not going to get a direct answer from them. We're not going, and even if we got an answer from them, it's not going to be the truth. So we know that. So it's like, oh, well, you kind of have to, that's why I said those action steps to help you get out of that rumination phase, because the narc is not going to help you do that. So there you go. Because narcs don't want to give their target closure, because they know that giving their target closure will allow them to move forward. It will allow their survivors, it will allow them to be able to heal, it will allow them to connect those dots to get out of the rumination phase. That closure will allow the survivors to get educated and to self-reflect and to be able to heal and grow and mature, and also to break the cycle of narcissistic abuse. Generational curse breakers, chosen spiritual warriors for Christ, are generational curse breakers. That means that when God awakens us to and from all that narcissistic abuse, it stops with us. We push back. We expose the wicked behaviors. And that's what we're supposed to do when it is revealed to us. And so we understand better, how the enemy works. The enemy is always going to try to see if he can deceive us into looking like a hypocrite or like not adhering to our word and things like that. Now, that doesn't mean things don't change. Of course, they do change. Right? And so speaking of changes, you all, I appreciate it's like God brought it to my attention about the Spiritual Warriors for Christ membership at CHA Academy. My math was a little off. It is what it is. I don't even know. I was like, well, wait a minute. I was like, how did I get that calculation? That's not even right. Okay. So God had me revisit that. And so now you'll see the new, a more fair, monthly membership, or for 25% off an annual. Yes, that's at CHRWDRMD.com. You'll see the links to those in the video description later on after we're done and I get on there and add it. So you can always go to some of the other video description and get the link for quicker access. all right, to go check that out. But we did something that needed to be done because God would, yeah, he was like he was knocking on the door going, hey, 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 I need you to do something. So we did that. And I appreciate y'all's patience as we get these things figured out and God brings them to my attention. Because again, I didn't even know. I was like, well, I don't even know how I came up with that number for the annual 25% off at the first original idea price that we had set. And so God had me change it. Okay, there you go. All right, you all go check that out. And we highly appreciate your patience and understanding. And I don't have a problem telling y'all, oops, I stand corrected. All right, so there you go. And, keep going forward, y'all. Keep going forward. That rumination phase, it is not going to last forever. Okay, many of us out here can tell, those of us who have gotten fully healed, we can tell you that. Okay, yes, we can. And it takes time. Okay, like we say, often and elsewhere and here, that listen, you got to give yourself the time and space. Yes. Okay, distance yourself from chaos and drama, because like we talk about often, that chaos and drama is going to be narcissistic abuse. Yeah, anywhere you spot chaos and drama, there's narcissistic abuse, narcissism going on there. Absolutely, 100%. Even if it is in a home environment and it just happens to be one that's doing all the causing of the chaos, that's narcissism in action. There's no reason for it except for the narc to feed their own adrenaline addiction. So we got to leave them there. We leave them. All right, we don't, yeah. I would tell y'all something. God delivers us out from under stuff. Okay, he does. And sometimes he'll do it pretty quickly too. Right? There are those moments where God will do some things suddenly. Yes. Okay. For the most part, hit slow and gradual. Okay. God is a one at a time type God for most all things. There are some circumstances when God sees, okay, I got to step in. We got to boom. Okay. He'll do that too. It depends on the circumstance. But now the ruminating phase is going to be one day at a time. One narc at a time. You all, seriously. Because if you think about it, if you've got 5 of them that you're trying to break that trauma bond to, okay, right? If you got 5 of them, if you try to get out of the rumination phase with all 5 of them at the same time, that don't overwhelm yourself. That's the trick of the enemy. That's what he wants. He wants you to overwhelm yourself and try to do it all at once. It don't work that way. Because each one of those circumstances with those 5 narcs, we're just throwing a number out there, okay? For many of us, it's way more than that. We know that. I'm just using a simple number, okay? For 5, just one at a time, okay? That way, because it gets easier. See, once you get it figured out, you've practiced. You've got the dot connected to the first one, dot connected to the second one, third one, fourth one. And usually between the 3rd and 4th one, you've gotten the hang of it, right? Yes, you've gotten into your groove of how you're getting out of the rumination phase over that one, and then that one, and then that one. Then it gets easier going forward with additional narcs that you maybe find yourself ruminating about. And so that way we don't find ourselves sitting there. See, I will tell y'all, there is one right now who wishes that I was sitting around doing that, ruminating. No, I've already connected the dots. Now, God still reveals more to me, but I'm going to tell y'all something. No, we're working. We're taking notes. We're doing what we do. We got this ministry going on, right? That's right. Plus, y'all know what it's like to move. You got to learn the area. You got to, oh gosh, yeah. And it's great. I mean, it's a wonderful experience, starting over again. Don't ever be afraid. Again, you all, I got to remind somebody needs this one. Don't be afraid to start over. Embrace the unknown. Okay? That's taking that leap of faith. You embrace the unknown because you're overcoming that fear of the unknown. That's how you do that. That is for somebody. Right? Yep. Whoever is having trouble trying to overcome the fear of the unknown, that's how you do it right there. You learn how to embrace the unknown. Because you know that God got it all figured out. And that what he got figured out is good. Okay? It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. Because God ain't got nothing bad for you. No. So you know that. Like, oh, okay, then you know what? I might not know. It's like we may not know where God is taking us, but we trust him, and we know wherever he's taking us, it's going to be fantastic. Okay? It's not going to be dark and doom and gloom or anything like that. Right? It could be happy, or it could be joy, it could be peaceful. It already is. Okay? But yeah, so yeah, we're not, and that's why I'm trying to tell y'all. I want to give y'all that to help you put it in perspective. That's your inspiration, your motivation. You can see where we're at, all right? Because yes, right, I still get narcissistic abuse dished out at me often, okay, you all? That's why I say, but it's indirect. Like I said a little bit ago, remember, it's indirect now. It's no longer direct. So because it's no longer direct, I'm not going to sit in a ruminating phase. I am going, depending on the circumstances, I am going to conduct that forensic analysis, absolutely, because it needed to be done. So that, not necessarily so that I needed closure, but it was just God giving me confirmation, because my gut, that instinct, you know what I'm saying, was like, that story just does not add up. And I wasn't the only one that knew that. There were some others in the staff members and stuff like that. They knew. They were like, that's not adding up either. So just so you know, all right? Because when we do stuff like that, we are able, see, this kind of goes into the action steps I gave you to get out of the rumination phase as well, because you'll learn by doing that the very specific questions that you will need to ask. That's how do you know what specific questions you need? Well, that's, you write down that scenario. Okay, you got to write it on paper. And then that's when you'll be able to see, okay, I have a very specific question pertaining to this detail. Then the next question, very specific, pertaining to this detail. Same concepts apply in a forensic analysis. Very specific questions to ask, about a certain detail or what have you, when you are being told a story that's not adding up based on your own knowledge and your own, not your own understanding, no, but your own knowledge that you've gained, and then your own, godly wisdom, because that's God's intuition telling you something's off. Something's off with that, and there's a scientific reason why. Well, we know, because we already know the spiritual reason why. Right now, we got to dive into a little bit of the basic scientific facts of the why. Okay, so yeah, you got that connection. Okay, there is. God even tells us that, that you're going to have, God's wisdom still triumphs. Yes. Okay, but we're still going to have some science in there that's going to help to answer at the earthly level. Okay, think about, this is why when you get that balance between the spiritual and the physical, and you're no longer being, pushed and pulled and thrown in every direction and things like that. You're no longer, I guess you could say, I don't really want to say unstable, but we all kind of were. When we were emotionally dysregulated, we weren't quite stable. So, but once you are stable and you're able to keep the physical and the spiritual separated, you'll understand better that there are some earthly things, and that would be the science, okay, that is going to help explain, okay, God telling you, hey, that's all. All right, now we need to come back down here, okay, come back down to earth, if you will, and figure out, okay, why that's not matching that, and that's not matching that. Like how with narcissistic abusers, actions don't match words. Okay, well, sometimes there's holes in their story, so that are not, and the story's not going to match an actual circumstance that's happening in the real world. Okay, that's how we're able to discern spiritually and physically. Right, and we're able to, do the analysis and put the pieces together, connecting dots, just like you're going to do to get out of that rumination phase. So you see, there's similarities in all of it, as to your spiritual wisdom and then your earthly wisdom. Okay, there's going to be components in both that are going to help balance that thing, that cosmic balance that God tells us we have got to have in the spiritual awakening, yes, in God's reality, so that we are able to properly discern. Okay, that's what it's all about. And so I'm going to share with you all that, the enemy was trying to trick us into going against step one and how to deal with toxic coworkers by, keeping personal and work stuff separated. So God stepped in and corrected us on that. Yes. Okay. Because I did not quite catch on that that is what was happening at the time. But now that we know, it's been straightened out. Just to let you all know, God gives us the chances and helps us straighten things out when the enemy is trying to trick us into going against one of our own boundaries, all right, and our own teaching. So, yeah, we're not perfect, no, but I didn't catch it right away. But eventually, God revealed it to me. And he was like, we can't do that. Can't do that, can't do that, can't do that. You know, so, because work is work, personal is personal. We cannot, the enemy likes to keep people doing that. So this is for somebody. The enemy likes to keep people doing that because by combining, okay, yeah, by combining both, you know, work and personal, okay, that keeps people emotionally dysregulated and unnecessarily stressed out. That's right. So we learned that, okay, it's not worth it. But the enemy likes to do that because it leads to chaos and drama. Absolutely, 100%. Okay. So we learned, well, like, we got to keep them separated. Just like we were able to discern between the spiritual and the physical once we've got the balance. Able to properly discern between the two. So we start to catch these things a lot quicker. All right, you all. And part of that, getting out of the rumination phase. Again, a reminder, all right, that don't beat yourself up. That's the trick of the enemy. Don't beat yourself up. Keep going. Right? Keep going and practice those action steps. Okay. And you will see. Right? It's going to take a little time, right? Do all of us a favor and don't expect immediate results. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and caution you all on that. Okay. So because it's going to take that one. Because it's also going to depend on how much of a scenario you're replaying in your mind. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, how many things are involved in that scenario. So it's going to depend on that too. Because for some of y'all, you got a ton of stuff to go through. Okay. And some of y'all, just a little bit of stuff. It depends. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we're not going to give a time frame. We can't do that. We don't have a time frame for it. You're working out that salvation. When you do those action steps to get out of the rumination phase, you're doing the work that you need to do. You're working out that salvation with the Heavenly Father. That's right. That's what you're doing. And he's going to help you. Right? And yes, he will hasten that on his time as well. You'll see. Absolutely, 100%. So let's say you've been in, for example, you've been in the rumination phase for, let's throw a number out there, 3 years. Okay? All right. Well, now that you brought that to your own attention, God brought that to your attention, right? Now you're like, gosh, I've been in this rumination phase over this particular scenario for like 3 years. It's like, is it ever going to end? Well, that's when God just stepped in and gave you those action steps. Okay, to get, it's like, okay, because once you realize that, okay, it is time to get out of this rumination phase. Because, I mean, you get to that point. You do. We all do. We get to that point where, okay, enough is enough. I need to get these things out of there. Because what is consuming the mind space? Okay, remember, the enemy wants to consume the mind space. Because the mind is the kingdom of God. Oh, let me throw this out there. I know, yeah, y'all. One of the things that narcissistic abusers love to do, one of many that they love to do, besides, to re-traumatize their target and re-traumatize other people, is they definitely want, they want more than anything to try and cause traumatic brain injuries. That's what they're after. Never forget that. Okay? They want to try to do that. God revealed that to me earlier today. I was at the laundromat. He revealed that to me. I was like, oh, okay. And it was through a question on Quora that I came across. And I was like, oh, yes, that's exactly what they would want. Because, listen, tricks of the enemy are, like I said, many. But we learned there's nothing new under the sun. But the narcissistic abusers, they deliberately want to try and cause a traumatic brain injury. Okay, yes, I'm God's chosen one. But I'm going to tell you something, it doesn't work when we're reborn in Christ. No. Again, like I said yesterday in the live, you can't kill the spirit. You can't. It's just not possible. Okay? I want everybody to, keep on keeping on. And don't let the enemy trick you, okay, into thinking that you're going to be in that rumination phase for the rest of your life, because you're not. All right, you are going to get out of it. Absolutely. So there you go. And if y'all have any question, okay, never hesitate to reach out. I'm always going to address anything you all, when I see a comment, okay, on the videos, and I am, just like, you know what, let me get on here and just go ahead and address this, because it's very common, okay, for all survivors to go through these things. So it's like, that's why I say, when y'all ask questions, you are likely not the only one that has that same question. All right, seriously, remember that, because even though all of our experiences are slightly different, okay, the patterns of abuse are the same, but the situation, involving the abuse is going to be a little bit different, right? Okay, so there you go. And I just want to let everybody know that, it's okay. So when you ask that question, I'm going to get up here and I'm going to address it for you and others, for all who have that question. And then later on, when God awakens his other chosen spiritual warriors for Christ, when he awakens them on his time, so that this will be here for them. Okay, so that they can get their answers, they can get their action steps. They go, okay, all right, because all these things that we are teaching you all are things that we've done ourselves, and that's why we know they're tried and true. Okay, that's why I'm saying that what you get at CDHR Academy, what you see is what you get. All right, for those who may not know this, I'm fully aware of the gimmick, the pyramid schemes and stuff out there. I am pure, the narcissism side of marketing. I'm fully aware of it, and that's why we don't do that. All right, we do not operate like that. Okay, because we got a lot of people out here who, yeah, I know, and then we got sucked into. I think I got sucked into it. Oh my goodness, years ago. I was in my middle 20s when I learned about these things. And what they do is they go, okay, they're offering you a free whatever, right? They get you in there. That's that bait. Okay. Yep. That's that bait that gets you in there. And they talk great, right? They tell you everything you want to hear. They get you all hyped up, right? They get you, just like narcissistic abusers do, right? See, narcissistic abusers use that technique of marketing to lure in, okay? Yeah. I mean, a lot of them do. Now, there are other techniques that narcissistic abusers do, but I'm going to tell y'all something. That one who thought that I was getting trauma bonded to him, I didn't get lured into nothing. We conduct case studies, don't we? Okay, anyway, moving on. That type of marketing, that's what they do. They bring people in, right? And then they tell them what they want to hear. They get them all hyped up. And then, but to get the actual tips and tricks, now they give you, go ahead and buy my $500 course to get those tips. That's not how we operate. Okay, at CDHR Academy, for those who don't know, the courses that we offer, everything's already there. As soon as you enroll, and don't forget, you've got the option of a one-time payment or 5 monthly payments. You have to click that little arrow in that box to see that, okay, to make whatever works for you. And once you're in the course, what you see is what you got, okay? It's already there. These videos are pretty much, these YouTube videos are free. I'm just going to let y'all know about it, but they're there. The information is already up. Short videos, the notes, all of the stuff is up inside those courses, already put together. Once you enroll, you've got access to it. You can start for one that's got a prerequisite, for the the 5P coaching course to help you start writing down your talents and gifts to unpack that bag. So you print those out if you haven't done that already. And then you go right to chapter 1. You start reading and watching and listening, taking your own notes, things like that. It's already there. It's already there. When you pay, you are getting, it's already there. The product there. Okay, so I just want y'all to understand that. We're not giving you no gimmick. We're not playing that. No, we're not playing that side of the marketing. No, we make sure when we have things for you all that they are already in place. It's already putting it in position, to make sure that when we make the announcement, okay, it's already there. What you see is what you get. All right, you all, with Consulting for Heightened Awareness, it's all about simplicity, trauma healing, and spiritual growth. All right, seriously, you all, if you've got any questions, don't ever hesitate to reach out. All right, sending love and light to all fellow warriors. Thank you for watching, listening, and for your support. Till next time, let's show some gratitude to the Heavenly Father, and you keep being you. In Jesus' name, amen.